Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome to the fourth game in this best of 5 series between myself and JonTaun of Total Warhammer. So currently, as the series stands, I am up 2-1, so if I do win this game, the series will be over with a 3-1, and if JonTaun is able to tie up the series, we will be going to a rubber match. So as far as this matchup goes, I'll be playing the Tomb Kings led by the new and unimproved Ark in the Black, and granted, I don't think his new item is bad at all. The Tomb Blade of Arkin no longer heals nearby units, which I think is very reasonable, because he used to be healing constructs. You'd be getting like the Necrosphinxes just getting these massive heals, and it was so stressful to play against, especially the Death Star variant. So they did change it. Now the Tomb Blade of Arkin actually just summons a bunch of skeletons, which has 5 charges. So over the course of the battle, you can get some pretty heavy pockets of skeleton play, which is pretty good against the Beastmen. So JonTaun and I also agreed a gentleman's agreement in this tournament, best of 5, not to use Fate Unit. As such, I'm not going to be using that spell. I do have Spirit Leech, Aspect of the Dread Knight, Doom and Darkness, as well as Soul Blight. So I'm going to be using some of the more untraditional, I guess you could say, death spells to try and, fear out some of these Beastmen. But JonTaun got pretty hog wild in this game with a huge Vanguard ambush. So as far as my army goes, a couple groups of Carrion. So in total, I have 4 Carrion, which are so good against Beastmen. They have 46 melee defense and high weapon strength. So you just get the Carrion and you simply chase down Centaurs with throwing axes, which are one of the only answers that the Beastmen have against like War Sphinxes and Tomb Scorpions and things like that. And yeah, the Carrion will probably eventually die to supporting units and Poison Hounds and things like that, but still, they're so darn good. On top of that, I do have 2 groups of the Nekar Horsemen, which actually trade very efficiently with Centaurs. They just have better stats. Their charge bonus is, of course, weaker, but I think their 28, 35, 38 is a better stat line than the average Centaur, so I think he has some. I'm not sure what they are, but anyways, that's it for my kind of auxiliary forces out on the flanks and my Vanguard and all that kind of stuff. And for my main army, I have an entire front line of Skeleton Warriors just going relatively cheap. 2 Tomb Scorpions right here, which are very good at terror-routing Beastmen troops, and surprisingly tough to kill with their animations. Despite the fact they only have 35 melee defense, they're still very, very tricky to drag down. I have a Camarine War Sphinx right here, which is always good, very, against Bestigors and pretty much anything the Beastmen have to offer. And honestly, it doesn't do bad at all in the monster fight, as it does have some archers on top there. 2 groups of the Tomb Guard with halberds in the back line in case he went with like a Mino, Chaos Spawn, Death Ball. So I feel like I have most of my bases covered. I have answers to Centaurs, I have answers against Bestigors, and then of course I have answers against the Death Star with Minotaurs with the halberds. So JonTaun, like I said, getting hog wild. He does have Khazrak One Eye in Vanguard deployment, so I was not expecting this because I totally forgot that Khazrak can now Vanguard on his chariot. So you can see he's rushing out of the forest. He does have a bunch of Gore-Herds with shields. Gore-Herds I'm basically fully surrounded. So Gore-Herds everywhere. I think he has Centaurs throwing axes, 2 groups up here. The Sons of Goros, Poison Warhounds up here. So he does have the ROR, and the Sons of Goros just basically have really good stats compared to regular Centaurs. He has a Shadowcaster coming on a chariot, Koroks Manripper, spears, and basically just a bunch of Centaurs with great weapons and throwing axes hidden throughout the forest. So without further ado, let's get this battle underway. So JonTaun did come out with Khazrak, but Khazrak was definitely in the wrong neighborhood, so he does take a huge charge from that from the Camarine War Sphinx and a Spirit Leech, and also the Tomb Scorpion coming in there. And realizing I had him relatively isolated, I summoned the skeletons using Ark in the Black's new Tomb Blade here. So you can see I get a huge pocket of skeletons. We are playing on large unit counts, so that's why it's 200, but normally it's 150. So the Gore-Herds are relatively occupied. You can see this Tomb Scorpion just coming in and just doing absolute work against these Centaurs, or these Gore-Herds here, not Centaurs. But they're going to take a lot of damage from the Tomb Scorpion, and honestly will probably tear it out relatively quickly. So basically, realizing it was an ambush, I'm just trying to reform ranks. JonTaun did get away with Khazrak One Eye, so he's probably going to start riding through some of my troops here, and it looks like there's going to be a pretty good rear charge. Khazrak is a pretty decent battlefield commander. He has some good, I guess you could call them shout abilities. It looks like there was a pendulum effect that just went off. Up on the high ground, I had to retreat actually because the Sons of Goros and the Poison Hounds were just doing a ton of damage against my Nekar Horsemen and some of my other troops. So I did pull back, and at this point, I get all of my Carrion, and you can see they're going to swoop through the forest as soon as it looks like a couple of them were stuck on the ground with the Sons of Goros. So they keep getting re-aggroed there, but basically I'm just like, get the throwing axes because they're starting to pour into my Camarine War Sphinx here, which is something I really want to keep alive. Over here you can see Khazrak One Eye has popped Scourge. Looks like he did pop Apocalyptic Vision, which gives leadership and melee attack. So definitely very good for Beastmen infantry. But the Tomb Guard, or not Tomb Guard, but the Skeletons, as well as the Tomb Guard with halberds, are holding surprisingly well, and I'm taking very little damage. In the meantime, every time Khazrak does come in, he's taking damage from Ark in the Black with Spirit Leech. The Tomb Scorpions are just chasing him down. He's having a lot of trouble being effective. I still don't think Khazrak is nearly, Morker I think is just a much better choice. But again, Khazrak can get around and give the Apocalyptic Vision. So in the main fight, you can see the Tomb Scorpions just here with a ton of skeletons. We just have a lot of these guys in here, and it's just basically just a horde fight here. But the Skeleton Warriors do very well against low-tier Beastmen because their leadership is relatively poor, so it gets rid of their frenzy quickly because all skeletons cause fear. And the main thing is just enduring and keeping your constructs alive. If the constructs get focused down, you will usually lose. Over here, the Nekar Horsemen are just charging up the hill with some of the skeletons, trying to get Khazrak here. Ark in the Black uses the Staff of Nagash, which is such a damn good item. It lowers the ability cooldown time by 30 seconds, and it also gives you Winds of Magic recharge, which is really powerful. So you can see Khazrak One Eye here is just getting bullied by Ark in the Black, and the Realm of Souls is going off of my troops. You can see the huge green aura going up over all the skeletons and Tomb Guard. Definitely some very solid stuff there. So we're just kind of pushing there, and we do get Khazrak down to negative 12 leadership. And another Spirit Leech with the Staff of Nagash, which actually reset the cooldown. And I'm able to basically take him out off the battlefield. So Morgr the Shadowgate would have been able to endure that much better, simply because he would regenerate through the damage. But Khazrak, very vulnerable to that type of play. Right here you can see the Tomb Scorpion is going to be fighting amongst the Centaurs with great weapons. And you know, even though they seem like they would be a counter, it's like oftentimes Centaurs just get like terror routed and actually like beaten down by the Tomb Scorpion. It's really tough to bring these guys down for the Beastmen. Korok's Man Rippers are a very good choice, as well as Centaurs with throwing axes, but I find that Centaurs with great weapons aren't as effective as I'd like. So right now he does have a Shadowcaster who's being chased by Ark in the Black, just trying to get him. The Sons of Goros were trying to protect Khazrak, but unfortunately they did fail in protecting their liege. And as it stands, the balance of power is pretty darn even. He has lost Khazrak relatively early, but again, my forces are dwindling to his Gore Herds are obviously much stronger infantry than skeletons, so they are going to win in the long engagement. Skeletons are basically just chaff. And the Korok's Man Rippers down here are, you know, fighting tooth and nail to work through skeletons. Not the matchup that they want to be in, but, you know, they basically have to because they're just kind of engulfed right now. The Cambrian War Sphinx up here, and it's funny, it's a little bit laggy with like this many models, but the War Sphinx is just kind of fighting, and it looks like a huge tide of Centaurs coming in, and it looks like they were in melee mode, which a bit of a mistake. Definitely want to be using their throwing axes there, so JonTaun, of course, realizing that, pulls back, and is probably going to start getting some pretty heavy firepower into the Cambrian War Sphinx. In the meantime, Ark in the Black still on the hunt, just an absolute hunter here, and you know, Ark in the Black for being a caster is very powerful in melee. He has 40 melee attack, 50 and 450 with a decent little charge bonus. So he's able to do some really good damage to that Bray Shaman with the Lore of Shadows. But my army's starting to look a little thin as far as infantry goes. I have some skeletons here that are crumbling, Tomb Guard are crumbling. Basically, all my infantry are crumbling. JonTaun still does have a lot of mobility. So my skeleton warriors down here fighting Sons of Goros, but of course a chariot riding through them is going to make pretty short work. And Sons of Goros, though they're not going to win any contests in terms of their melee prowess. I mean, 32 melee attack is much better than regular Centaurs. And at least they have armor. They have 70 armor compared to the very low 35 of regular Centaurs there. So Ark in the Black popping the Staff of Nagash, and the Liber Mortis is going to give some physical resist to nearby troops. And here comes another skeleton summon. So, you know, every time JonTaun tried to come in with, you know, these troops and stuff, I would try and screen out because he was preparing for cycle charges. And yeah, he's definitely a master of cycle charges. Just coming in, you know, pinning my skeletons down, retreating, using throwing axes on the pertinent targets as he retreats. Just, you know, applying a lot of pressure to my army here. But I feel like the constructs, based on how unhealthy the Centaurs are at this point, you know, on top of that, Khazrak is gone. He doesn't really have any leadership, so they're already getting an ingrained penalty to their leadership from their lord having died. It's going to be a little bit tough for them to finish off the constructs, and you can see now that the bounce power has shifted in my favor, and I was basically just holding the Realm of Souls Ushapti summon in my back pocket. I wanted to wait for like a final apocalyptic fight, and I think I ended up using it right now because I think he was in there. Might have been a bit of a mistake, but yeah, I was saving it, and yeah, I thought he was going to commit more there, but definitely JonTaun saw that coming, and there is a bit of a delay, so if you're paying attention, you can see it, but typically, I think it's very prudent to save it, and I guess now it's pretty close, so I can just use them to kind of clean up. So you can see the Ushapti here are going to come over here and just start beheading some of these Gore Herds, doing a very, very good job. And in the meantime, though, a lot of Centaurs left, a lot of throwing axes, but on that same note, there's a lot of HP left in my army. The Cambrian War Sphinx has, you know, 7k here, Tomb Scorpions are above 4, all in pretty good health. And of course, Ark in the Black is pretty much full health as well, with Realm of Souls having expired, though, so there's going to be no more healing for the old boy Arkin anymore. And I'm pretty sure yeah, I know this heals. What does it say here? Does it actually say? Yeah, so it looks like it doesn't heal. Look, I'm just looking for the mechanic. Yeah, so leadership is broken, heals. Okay, so it looks like target self, Realm of Souls Tier 1 is reached, replenishes hit points of combatants. I'm pretty sure it doesn't heal constructs. Maybe it does, and I'm just completely wrong, but I'll have to check after this game. But anyways, Ark in the Black and the boys and the 2 Tomb Scorpions are in pretty good health. There's a couple tattered groups of Centaurs riding, and my Summon Ushapti are one of the reasons why the bounce of power is inflated in my favor. So JonTaun, of course, being a veteran, realizing this is going to pull back and wait for them to die, which is exactly what I would do. And so I'm just going to chase, try and catch some of these guys. And the Ushapti aren't slow. They got 54, so if JonTaun lets me get too close on accident, they could accelerate and get a nice little charge here. So you can see they're starting to kind of pick up speed as I do try and cut off this group of Centaurs with throwing axes right here. So maybe they'll turn in and get the angle they're looking for. And it looks like they might actually catch them. So from here, you can see they're going to karate chop some of these Centaurs. And the Tomb Scorpions, I'm basically just chasing down infantry because at this point, I can't really catch anything else. So we'll go ahead and fast forward. You just kind of fight tooth and nail there, and they actually get a lot of those the Centaurs, which was really, really solid. And of course, the last of them is going to degenerate as they are a summoned unit. Really makes me think back of like the times when summoned units actually just were permanent. Man, that was pretty wild for sure. But we chase off some of those spears. JonTaun does have a pretty big, and you could already see, like, now you see the true composition of his army. Like, he had Gors and some chaff, but the Centaurs were like the main, and you could see there's like, what, 5 groups here, and then the Koroks Man-Rippers. So at this point, it's basically just, I'm at his will. I have to fight when he wants to, so I'm just going to kind of chase a little bit. And you can see he's just waiting for everyone to get in position. Then he's going to go in for Alpha Strike, most likely in a moment. I do get one more Spirit Leech on the Brave Shaman, so that's probably going to encourage JonTaun to go ahead and engage here. Just because, like, the longer he waits, the more, like, beat up that Shaman's going to get from Spirit Leech effects. And I'm pretty sure I do have a Skeleton Summon. So you can see he swoops in. He's kind of, like, teasing me, luring me in different directions and getting that, pretty good value off the throwing axes. But every time I'm able to clip a couple Centaurs, it's adding up. And now we're coming in. The Koroks Man-Rippers are just going to get monster mashed by the Power Rangers right here. You can see the 2 Scorpions and this War Sphinx are just going to tear these guys up pretty quick. I mean, Koroks Man-Rippers are very durable against this, but I mean, this is a lot of stopping power right here. They're negative on leadership. Koroks Man-Rippers are coming in, and now is the time, I think, for the final Beastmen stand as they do come in. But you can see the Koroks Man-Rippers are going to break off due to terror right there, and the rest of the Beastmen troops are also just going to start suffering army losses. They simply don't have enough ammunition or stopping power to finish off the Tomb Kings. So very well played to JonTaun of Total Brohammer. That's it. I actually took the series 3-1, if I'm not mistaken. Hopefully my math is correct. It'd be funny if we just got it wrong and just screwed up the best of 5. But yeah, it was good. And I like that build against Beastmen. I feel like it's hard for them to deal with because the only way they really take out constructs easily, in my experience, is through Centaurs with throwing axes. Now that was a way. It's been a while since I played that matchup, so I think maybe doing like a Minotaur Death Star, like what you do is you get like Morker, you get you can get like a Firecaster to burn through the skeletons really quick. A sturdy front line, a combination of Gore Herds and Bestigore Herds. You get like 2 Chaos Spawn, like a couple Minotaurs with great weapons. I don't know what I would have done against that. I mean, I feel like I had an answer with the Halberds, but again, the Halberds were like a tertiary part of my build, so maybe they wouldn't have been enough to stop that with some really good placement of like burning skulls and things like that. I don't know, it's interesting, but Centaurs with throwing axes can do the trick, and honestly, had Kazarak not been killed so early on, I mean, it was a really close battle as is, and had Kazarak not been killed, so I mean, again, I can't really say much as to the efficacy of the build because its leader was dead very early on, but yeah, still, I think that this type of build works. Centaurs, cycle charging, getting the throwing axe play. Koroks Man-Rippers did really well, obviously, and I mean, even his caster got 152 kills, but yeah, I think the Mino Death Star could work as well. Again, but if the Tomb Kings do decide to go with like skeleton archers and Ushabti great bows, they could pick apart your large targets pretty easy. So there's some give and take, so more experimentation required. So again, big thanks to JonTaun of Total Brohammer for the games. That is it for our series, and also huge thanks to Shadow Online Gaming for hosting this tournament. It was definitely quite a bit of fun, and yeah, my apologies for taking so long to get the games out to both you guys as well as Shadow. I know he was waiting for some time, but my old Gimp hand needed some time to rest, and of course had a lot of life stuff going on. So again, thanks to JonTaun and Shadow. Make sure to check out their channels in the comment section below, and we will see you guys soon. Have an excellent night and take care.